So actually,
Spinoza, who was a Jewish rabbi,
yeah.
Dutch rabbi, and it affected him his whole life. And he didn't think there was any connection between human problems and the brilliance of the universe, which could be God. But his argument was that God doesn't mess around with individuals. Does that help?
Yeah, I mean, I've read some Spinoza, and it's very mathematical and geometric, and then using geometry to basically kind of cast deity or an explanation for the Judaism in his life and the because the thing about Spinoza, it's not just about his philosophy. It's really about his environment, which is like the orthodoxy surrounding his whole narrative and his rebellion against it. It's like it's more than just a philosophy and some type of like a proofs or like explanations on his science and his math. It's like it has to do with his relationship with his environment, which is basically why Alan Watts like supersedes all these people. Because Alan Watts is like the quickest way to like, explaining a lot of this shit, which is yin and yang or zero and one. It's like Spinoza suck my dick. Let's talk about Alan
Yeah,
Watts.
except for if you're talking about Einstein's. I mean, that was the subject here, Einstein. I just told you his philosophy, really, which was a copy of Spinoza.
Well, the theory of relativity, I don't think is really expressed in Spinoza. Spinoza's like, I mean, I read a Spinoza book
Yeah,
one
but
time where I
that
was
theory
like,
of
God damn.
relativity, well,
Yeah, I guess you're
neither
right. I guess you're
Spinoza,
right. Yeah.
neither Spinoza nor Einstein believe that any of this math can explain the world. And Einstein went a long way towards that. It had anything to do with human miseries. Humans have a completely separate issue than how the universe functions. And Einstein was never interested in human miseries. He was only interested in what's the truth of the universe. That's what he was interested in. His whole being was bent in the direction of how does the universe work, not how do humans work. So,
Oh, the ego, the vanity.
the what?
Meaning that, like, Spinoza himself was a dilettante. Like, he thought he was groundbreaking, by pushing back against the government, the orthodoxy, his environment, with his radical philosophy. People are just ridiculous. I mean, do you realize that people really think that the earth is flat and that the government is concealing that fact? And people absolutely believe that. And they,
Yeah,
they
there are
think
some
NASA's all
people.
fake and the
Yeah,
moon landings are fake. It's like people really think that like everything is fake, you know? It's amazing.
well,
And they'll go on and
it's
on
a
and
bit.
on about it. Meanwhile they don't clean their own toilets and their battery alarms, their smoke detectors are beeping. Like people are ridiculous. People are obnoxious.
I'm basically in Spinoza's camp and Einstein's. I don't think human miseries have anything to do with how the universe works. And Locke was also in that camp.
Well, the amazing thing is the words themselves explain the whole narrative or the real meanings of the. This is the thing is it's like when you really break down words, there's so many things that people don't consider in the words themselves, which really explain the real meaning. For example, I can give you a very good demonstration. What's the one thing that everybody in reality in America has that like everybody has to generate this every year on April 15th? What is the one thing that everybody has to create? This is
A
based
tax bill?
No. What's the one number that everybody creates?
You got me.
It's
It's
AG.
not.
It's
What is
a.
April
It's
15th?
called AGI, bro. I mean, it's the tax bill, but it's called AGI, right?
Okay.
Okay, AGI. What does it stand for?
I don't have a clue.
You don't know what that number means? Jesus Christ! Do you not file your fucking taxes? You can't file
April.
your taxes unless you know your previous
Oh,
year's
gross
adjusted
income.
gross to yeah.
Gross income. Adjusted gross income.
Yeah. My point is, look at that word. I mean, what I'm trying to
It's
tell you is
three words.
words are ridiculous, but adjusted gross income is a ridiculous word. Look at the word carefully, word by word, and tell me what it really means. And I'll tell you what I think it means, but look at it slowly and carefully.
It's your net income after all the adjustments, and the taxes are based on that.
No, you're still not meditating. Look at the words. What's the first word?
Adjusted
Okay, what's the second word?
gross.
Is it gross or is it gross?
Gross. What the
Okay.
hell's gross?
All right, and then what's the third word?
Income.
Income. Say it one more time.
Adjusted gross income.
Okay, what's the third word?
Income. What the fuck is this about?
Okay, say it one more time.
I'm getting pissed.
Okay, so this is my point is this has to deal with
It better
like
be a good one.
okay, so this is the big thing is like is it is Yom Kippur, which is the Day of Atonement, which is your AGI day because supposedly Shemayim and Hashem determine your AGI in the heavenly books. That's your AGI. And when you look at the word adjust your gross income, it's disgusting. It's like talking about fucking and coming and like creating babies. It's not even about your income. It's like look at the word income. The whole thing is like it's a hypnosis. Like meaning even fiat. This is why I say the whole the whole what's the economic philosophy you like the Australian economics. What are those guys called? Anyways, the, Earl. What I'm
You
trying to
mean you don't mean Australia? You mean Austria?
Austrian. Okay, so this is an interesting thing. Is that there is a correlation between fiat currency and communication theory, meaning that that the IRS is irrelevant. That because of inflation, the Federal Reserve is technically the IRS. There is no need for taxation through fiat currency
Yeah, that's
manipulation.
true. That's absolutely true.
So what I'm trying to say is like the IRS is the most unpatriotic thing ever created, but the Federal Reserve is even more unpatriotic. Like they're the worst of the worst. They enable Congress, and when they say we do whatever Congress wants, we have the mechanisms and what Congress legislates and amends on and budgets on, we will do what they tell us to do. It's the sickest and listen, I have been downtown Chicago, sat in coffee shops, and heard federal employees talk about their work, and I'm like, these fucking rascals. This is such a scam. Like, it's a jobs program. It's a fucking jobs program. So, anyways,
Look,
yeah,
as long as the world keeps believing in the dollar, we can keep bullshitting everybody all over the world.
yeah, I
How
agree.
long will that last? I don't fucking know.
But somebody in the Congo, my point is, people in Africa don't even speak English, so that they can be fooled forever, because they don't give a
Well,
fuck.
then maybe that's what the U.S. is doing. It has been doing for the last 80 years, and no one seems to mind it or catch on to it, or if they do, it's one individual at a time.
But see,
There's no group.
I guess what I'm saying is like in Africa, in all these countries, they're technically tribal kingdoms with the ridiculous names that we give them, like Liberia or Nigeria. It's technically networks of royalty, and they know that the Federal Reserve and the fiat currency that even their own countries produce. Because do you know who manufactures the currency, the actual fiat notes in Nigeria? Do you have any idea which country produces those?
Well, there's a bunch of companies print banknotes.
Well, my
It's not
point,
just one.
I guess what I'm trying to tell you is like Africa is not Africa. Africa is Europe, and Nigeria is technically France. So, like, I'm just telling you that we're living in the biggest linguistic delusion ever imaginable. And like Alan Watts points this out, and all the esoteric philosophy points this out that like this English language industrial complex is a giant scam. It's a huge hypnosis fraud.
Let me ask you a question. Is it a scam if the thing works for 80 years and nobody can overthrow